So great to have your company today. Wave to everybody now watching on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter as well. I think our camera is behaving itself today. It's not every day that it manages to do that. And the short sleeves on now. It's nice to have the warmer weather as May has begun. I don't quite trust it until May is over, though. I think you can get a nice northerly wind or an easterly wind or something, sending a small bit of snow during the month of May. So with caution, of course. But lovely to see the trees now in the leaves coming through and the blossoms, certainly the cherry blossoms out in full, probably fading now, maybe a little bit at this stage. And the growth indeed in the fields as we pass by. So thanks be to God indeed that the summer is approaching. So do make the most of it and do keep an ear out and an eye out for the many, many events that are going on hither and yon. And especially since we're now delivered, thanks be to God, from all of the vagaries of lockdowns and everything else long since, and that people are really getting back out. I was speaking to somebody there recently who's on holidays visiting Rome and other holy places, and saying that these places are mobbed with people, that everybody's making up for lost time in terms of getting out and about. So keep an eye out for the crowds everywhere. Sure, we saw it ourselves at the Divine Mercy Conference back in February, and we had a lovely day as well. To give a big shout out to Katie Ross and Dolores and Patricia Friel and all the gang there in Longford on Monday at the Family Fun Day. And there was a nice gathering. There was a lot of young families came along, young children came in with strollers and young boys and girls, and a bit of lively music and a bit of entertainment going on as well. And it was a fundraiser for Mary's Meals. And Mary's Meals, of course, is a wonderful charity under the auspices of Our Blessed Lady, seeking to feed children at school and to encourage them to come to school in order to receive their breakfast and some nourishing food for the day, and setting them up on the path of education. It's a very kind of shrewd idea, very smart, simple, and very, very clever idea, in that it encourages young boys and girls to receive a nourishing start to the day, but also come together in fellowship and in education in poorer countries such as Africa and Latin America and elsewhere too, because so many in the world are without sufficient nourishment. We're not made aware of that enough, or maybe not at times. At any rate, we need to remind ourselves or pinch ourselves a little bit in relation to that. We're so well off here in Ireland, most certainly. But to be mindful of those who simply don't have enough. And Mary's Meals is a great little movement in its own way, and growing way gently and nicely. And well done to Kitty Ross and everybody there in Longford. A lovely atmosphere on the day, and Kitty invited me down. It was nice just to lead them a little bit of prayer on the day and give them a blessing too. And just to meet and greet some of our friends from Radio Maria in and around Longford, and some of those indeed finding out for the first time or discovering a little bit more and say, oh yeah, I've heard of this, tell me more. Always great by way of promotion there to sow some seeds. But I had a couple of lovely interviews while I was there. John Pridmore, who might be known to many of you as God's gangster. He's a man who many years ago was caught up in the East End of London, and it's a pretty brutal lifestyle. You see some of these awful shows on TV depict this kind of lifestyle, horrible that it is. Had a massive conversion, and his book is, I'm sure it's a bestseller. I've never asked him, but I think it's just called God's Gangster. But he's been here many years now in Ireland and still proclaiming the joy of his conversion. And he's the one who brought Mary's Meals to Ireland. So I have a little brief interview that I did with John Pridmore. I might share it with you now and say a few words maybe after it. I have a second short interview with Patricia that I want to share with you as well. So we'll listen to John Pridmore and back just very shortly. So we're here at the Family Fun Day on the Bank Holiday weekend of May in Longford, and you can hear the music in the background here, and it's lovely to gather with families fundraising for Mary's Meals, a marvellous charity, as we know, bringing food to children in Africa and around the world, in fact, helping them indeed on their education and their path to health and life. So I'm with John Pridmore, who's a marvellous figure, and I told his little story there a while ago. John, you're very involved with Mary's Meals. You tell us you introduced it here to Ireland?
Yeah, that's right. Magnus asked me to come over, and when it first started, and so I had the honour and the privilege of bringing it to Ireland. And it's been my great honour to be involved with it ever since, really. I think it's one of the most simple charities there are, because it feeds the children at school so they get an education and they can escape the poverty trap. And a lot of kids don't get that opportunity, you know. And so, I just think I think it was Gordon Brown who said it's the most simple obliteration to poverty there is in the world, when he came across it, and he's a great minister of it. So and Magnus is a great friend of mine and a great guy, a real messenger of God. So anyone who can get involved with Mary's Mills, please do.
Fantastic. And you're still giving glory to God, giving your testimony? Yeah,
very much. Like, that's what I live for, really, just saying how God changed my life. I thank God every day for bringing me from that hell life of gangsterism into the life that I have now, which is, meeting great people, great charities, and being involved in what's positive and uplifting. So I really enjoy my life. So I'm doing quite a few parish missions, not so many in Ireland since COVID, but I've done quite a lot in England and Manchester particularly, and I'm going over to Australia to do 5 parish missions in Melbourne. The Archbishop's invited me, which is a great privilege as well.
Great. You're still based here in Ireland? Still available?
Bishop Colum actually gave us a house in Gow in Carrick-on-Shannon, County Leitrim. So I've been here for the last 18 years now, and I must say I love Ireland, so I don't think I'd live anywhere else.
Sure. And you have a community built up around you there now at this stage?
Yeah, actually we finished our commitment in 2017, so we're all spread out. Catherine is running Human Life International. Neil is a youth minister over in England. Michael is a 5 years seminarian. So they'll be a great priest. So we're all doing different things, but all very united in prayer.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, this is great to see you, John, and God bless you in the mighty work and the great witness.
Thanks, Father Eamonn, and you and all your listeners. Sure, God bless you.
God bless you. Well done. Thank you. Very good. There's John Pridmore, a legendary figure. He told us that he spoke at World Youth Day in Sydney to the million or so young people gathered there with his testimony as well in Australia there a few years back. Still on the circuit, still on the go, and still, as he says, giving glory to God for the Thanksgiving. Is an incredible conversion, an extraordinary story. That's well worth a read if you haven't read that book, From Gangland to Promised Land. I think he describes himself as God's gangster. It's on YouTube, of course. He has the same talk that he delivers everywhere. It's very moving, very powerful, extraordinary testimony. So John is a great figure, and great that he was able to come to Longford there and tell his story to the crowd who were gathered there. It was a lovely moment. And indeed, as we speak, just the Vatican News has published there that hunger now, the fears of hunger are stalking Sudan, is the way it's expressed, as fighting continues. It seems that violence has broken out again between rival military factions in Khartoum, and 15,000 people are fleeing that violence on the border with South Sudan. 500 deaths have been reported, but the exact number of casualties is said to be much higher. So we see some of the aid agencies in that having to flee for their lives. I think the World Food Programme, they've had to resume operations in the country. Where's the little piece I was reading there, that the Red Cross, there was a number of their volunteers had been killed, and so they had to kind of shut things down and try to restart again. Some of these great aid workers, they really do risk their lives to help others in such dire need. So Sudan has been witnessing armed clashes since April, 2 sides blaming each other for the conflict. So it's always the way, one has to back down at least to initiate some kind of peace, and to, when it comes to civilian lives and all these things, and if society as a whole is disrupted, it's such just terror and cruelty for young families too. So Sudan is one. I know Ethiopia as well. There's so many other countries in such great need. So the likes of Mary's Meals is a gentle way of assisting, and as John Pridmore was saying there, reaching into the schools and getting the local people to actually purchase local food, and so build up the local economy, and the food that will obviously is native and will nourish the children, and they volunteer on the ground to cook up and serve the food in the schools, and then others will organise and administrate that. And they say that I know does Patricia mentioned now the little clip I have here, but that I think last year they managed to give away 97 cent in the euro. So they obviously need some administration for advertising and for, I suppose, office fees or whatever to help run things along. But she's very insistent on that as much as possible it goes directly to where it's needed. So I have a little chat with Patricia here. She's out of action for a little bit there, the poor thing, but back on track, I think, again. It was lovely to meet her and a chat with her. So you might have listened. It's only a short little chat with Patricia Friel as well from Mary's Meals. Good. I'm here at the Family Fun Day in Longford. Patricia Friel is in my company, and Patrick Mullihan is with me as well. So great, lovely, enjoyable day, dry day, thanks be to God, family and friends around, testimonies going on, and a fundraiser for Mary's Meals. So how's it all going, Patricia?
It's going fantastic, Father. I think you can feel the joy and the happiness and the atmosphere that has been created here by the Longford volunteers. It's just, I want to say thank you to them, to the Longford people, and to the people of Ireland who just come out so generously to give to Mary's Meals. It's a beautiful thing. So 2.4 million children that we are feeding on a daily basis, but we're just shouting out to everyone to say, come volunteer, do like the people of Longford here, set up a fun day, do something fantastic for Mary's Meals.
Yeah, it's terrific. Well done, Patricia, mighty work. And Patrick, you were selling tickets for a car. The car has been won since.
Well, that was last year. We sold a lot of tickets for the car in Cattle Marts. They were very generous in Dowra Mart, Drumshambo Mart, Granard Mart and Ballymahan Mart.
So the farmers are the lads to go to when it comes to flogging a car.
I'd recommend farmers now. I mean, I came to Cavan for a good one. So.
Road frontage, you know.
Drumshambo was the best. We collected 2,350 in Drumshambo.
Great. Good
and I think it was 1,850 in Dowra.
Well done. Fair play.
18 in Granard and 1450 in Ballymahan.
Do you know something?
Fantastic. So great work being done for Mary's Meals. Terrific.
Happy work.
Well done.
Happy work. So.
Thanks, Father.
Very good. Thanks to Patricia there. A nice little encounter there. There's lovely photos. They're up on our Facebook page if you'd like to take a look there as well. And again, meeting, we're on the same page, I suppose. We're certainly in the same cause and on the auspices of Our Lady working together. They certainly to feed the hungry. 2.4 million, Patricia said, is extraordinary. They're feeding every day all over the place. Really most extraordinary generosity and work that is taking place, and like I say, it's through the auspices of many great volunteers, and I see it in many ways much like our own work here in Radio Maria. Our Mariathon, of course, is next week, and we're looking to the world family of Radio Maria and raising funds where we are doing exactly the same, except at the level of the Spirit, and seeking to encourage people in the ways of the gospel, in the ways of prayer. And so hand in hand, it's just nice to be associated there with our friends in Mary's Meals. And isn't it amazing the way Our Lady is moving like any good mother and raising up people kind of behind the scenes, under the radar, ordinary, wonderful, simple, devoted, dedicated people to serve her children. And what a wonderful sort of family it is in that sense, minding those most in need. It's great to see the work of Kitty and Dolores as well there. She's the chairperson, I think, of their little committee, and they have the use of a building there in the Army Barracks in Longford, and they've set up a little charity shop to help with that work too. And it was really nice meeting the young people, and I should have done better maybe to get a few interviews with some of the young students from the secondary school. Fine young girls and lads helping out with the work. And I was saying to Kitty, really encouraging her on that too, because it's so often the case that we can get our youths with all their energy and all their enthusiasm involved in a little bit of charity work in some way. There was a few of the girls there had a little sweet section set up. They had slushies and chocolate things going for the small children, and they did very well. They did very well now and enjoyed themselves very much. I could see very industrious and very, very willing to get involved. And again, I'm a great believer that idea of getting our youth involved in something by way of charity and good for others is not only very wholesome and very upbuilding for them, but it helps them to take that extra step in faith and brings them along to the level of faith as well. The charity and faith work very closely together, as indeed I've so often seen on our trips to Lourdes. The very same dynamic, where the young people are given the task of helping the sick and the infirm and just lending their muscles and their time and their talent. They come good. It brings them out of themselves, and it does them untold good. Of course, gets them out of their phones and gets them out of their little bubbles, maybe a little bit as well, to help others. And all they need is a little bit of encouragement. Mull an óige agus tuigh siad, that's the Irish expression. A bit of praise for the youth, and watch them. They'll get there. They'll get there. So it was lovely to see that as well on Monday. So real nice occasion, and well done again to Kitty, and glad to be of some little support. I did mention to Patricia we'll get her on again. She had her own few little difficulties and problems of late. We'll get her back on the radio to give us a little update on all the good work that's going on there. And Dolores, who's the local chairperson and coordinator in Longford, said she'd be happy to join us on air sometime too as well. So we'd gladly do that. So all these really good movements, again, it's sort of hand in hand and under the direction and auspice of our Blessed Lady. Lovely to see it, and happy that we can be, as I say, with them in solidarity, as we seek in the same way to draw many volunteers. Most of our work, of course, is done by volunteers in the same way, and in bearing the faith gently through these means of social media here and on the radio to so many souls, and encouraging you on that journey and uplifting you, and telling you this little story to give you, this is a good news story which won't make the headlines on your national dailies. It won't make the headlines in secular sources, except maybe the local newspapers. It was great to see a few photographers there from the local print publications, and they will cover it certainly, and that's good. And that's very uplifting and upbuilding. If only our more secular national outlets could dedicate a bit of space to that too. They actually might do their readership and their viewership and their listenership a little bit of good to convey the good news that is going on. And there is an awful lot of really good news. Now we're looking forward to heading down to Cork this weekend, Ballyvolane in the north side of Cork City. Later on today you'll get the update, of course, from Liz as to all the projects that are taking place. There's a trip to the north, I think back up to Derry again, set for this weekend. And there's the conference, of course, in All Hallows College, the Legion of Mary conference. Who is she? And that'll be, that's not this weekend, beg your pardon, that's the weekend after next. Let me postpone on that. What there is actually on the radio here, you can join us, is the Women of Faith conference. The Totus Tuus magazine, Father Marius and Fiona Kiley organising there. They'll be on air with us for the afternoon this Saturday. Please do tune in and join with us here. It's another conference coming up. So please do feel very much a part of that event here, and keep an eye out for us when we're travelling around the country. Liz will give you the full update as to all our visits going on this coming weekend. We'll have our Mariathon, of course, starting from the 7th, so today is the 3rd of May, so 4, 5, 6, 7 Sunday, I suppose, really, through to the 13th. That'll be the following Saturday, which will be our birthday, our 8th birthday, and inviting you to participate to the full in that. We'll be sending out, we've already sent out our newsletter. We might send out a little voice message via WhatsApp to you as well, and really encouraging you to participate in it and to spread the good news of the great blessing and gift of Radio Maria. And please tell us what Radio Maria means to you, so that in the telling of that story and in the sharing of that story, others might indeed be invited to become part of our family in faith, and others too might be encouraged to give generously to help other Radio Maria stations to grow, especially in South Sudan, as we see that the military and political issues there are not at all good, and they're much in need of support. So a gentle voice like Radio Maria from South Sudan would do so much good for the people there. It's looking to get started and stronger in Nigeria, which is a massive country and has the greatest Catholic population of all of Africa. I think the greatest population of Africa in general. And looking forward to seeing it, hearing it grow and flourish there. Ethiopia is the other country where Radio Maria is looking to start in Africa too, and they have the World Family have any number of requests for new beginnings to take place all over the world. And so this is your opportunity to give generously to the World Family to build up Radio Maria throughout the world. Again, this is not at all unlike Mary's Meals, except at the level of the Spirit. So, if you're looking for a good way to invest treasure in heaven, and to do good for others, and the good that comes of that, no matter how small, or if you can afford a little more, please do. We're setting ourselves a target of €50,000. We do hope we'll sail and exceed that by far. It's only a number in the end, but it's again our invitation to you. It's just again setting things up, please God, that we'll have many generous contributions to the World Family of Radio Maria to help it grow. There's great needs in Europe because Ukraine is beset, of course. The Radio Maria in Russia has, again, it's very restricted, I suppose, in the way they're able to operate, but certainly they can be on air in prayer and in solidarity and faith formation, whatever about all the politics and the war in the Ukraine, and which they, again, will be quite restricted in terms of referring to, but at least they'll be able to preach the gospel and preach the faith. But their funding has obviously restricted quite greatly in the circumstances, and it's true in Ukraine. And the other country in the east is Belarus. I'm not even sure if they're broadcasting at the moment. Maybe they're streaming online. I know I met, as I mentioned to you, one of the directors there, and she had to flee to Poland in order to be safe, because they were just rounding up any opposition there might be to the Russian advance into Belarus. So God help them all. It's a difficult situation. And so again, funding greatly needed for Eastern Europe and some of the weaker radio stations there, which are broadcasting to quite a small, relatively smaller community, but at the same time preaching the gospel and all kinds of interesting graces and faith flowing as a result of that. There's great needs in Latin America too, where again there's quite poverty, places like Venezuela and other countries that are just beset with political, and there's a great deal of poverty, of course, too, and some of these stations just in need of extra support. One of the projects actually for this year, interestingly, is nice. They've set aside, they've called it the Shrines, the Marian Shrines of the World. And the hope is indeed to establish Radio Maria as associating itself with the national shrines of every country, and being part of that and promoting all that is good and wholesome, and being there to, as you know, we do it very much here for Knock. We would love to have the day when we could put a little studio there and to be able to broadcast regularly from pilgrimages to Knock and so on. Please God, that will come to pass. We're great friends now with our dear friends and associates in Knock Shrine, Father Richard as well. And these things take a little while to develop it. You need voluntary staff and so on. So please God, that's our hope. And looking forward next year, not this year now, but please God, next year we have it penciled in that we'll share the Rosary from Knock Shrine through all of the Radio Maria stations during the novena for next year for Knock. So we have that sort of penciled in. It's a bit ahead of time. But like that again, we've been doing that, and we'll be doing on the 13th of May, we'll be broadcasting the Rosary to all the Radio Maria stations in the world from Fatima, being of course May the 13th. Where else would we be taken from? And so you can see Our Lady is just gently, reaching out, casting her mantle over the world in these sort of unseen kinds of ways, in a way, but nonetheless very much present. And again, I include Mary's Meals as an extraordinary phenomenon, as the outpouring of the grace of our Blessed Lady. And Radio Maria is doing the same too, in its own nice, gentle way. Technology has enabled all this. It's a great good that has come from all of this. And it's you who are the strength and the foundation of Radio Maria on account of your listenership and your support, and especially your donations. So just to emphasise that, ahead of our Mariathon, we'll be chatting more about it, of course, in the week ahead from the 7th through to the 13th, and celebrating with great blessings and thanksgiving to God our 8th birthday on Saturday week. So please do, if you can spare a gift, and a generous gift too, to keep us in mind and the work of Our Lady through Radio Maria. And what I was thinking this morning, maybe send out a little voice message invitation to all our WhatsApp followers to invite you to send in a voice message to us. We really do love to hear from our listeners. This belongs to you. It's your radio station. We're just here to facilitate it for you. You can do this without receiving a message from me. You can do it right now and send in a voice message just expressing again the blessings that you've been able to receive through the work and ministry of Radio Maria from Our Lady's hands. And 30 seconds will do. You heard the little sound clips I played a while ago. Something very gentle and a nice little word of support. No matter where you are in the country or in the world, why not put something on record? And it'll be lovely to feature those as part of our week's Mariathon. We have a few interviews lined up as well from Radio Maria stations scattered around the world, and we'll share some of those interviews with you too, to give you a sense of again the presence of Radio Maria and its work internationally. It's an extraordinary blessing and gift for our times. So thanks for that. I might pause for a little piece of music. I didn't get that arranged ahead of time, but we might line something up there for you. I'm sure Nuria will have a little piece of music there to go. So please do get in touch with us right now. We'd love to hear from you. The number here, as always, 089 467 2000 by way of text and WhatsApp. +353 as always if you're from the north, coming at us from the north or connecting in, or from outside of Ireland, +353 89467 2000. And if you would like to call us, please do as well. 014 123456 +3534 123456. Do please save those on your phones. And a welcome to those new listeners who are connecting in with us after the visit in Longford. I downloaded the app there for a number of people and showed people how they can tune in and listen in. So if you're new and listening from Longford, lovely to hear from you. Feel free to get in touch with us, and the music break is always a good time to do that as well. So we'll pause and we'll be back again very shortly.
I am Patrick, a sinner. As I arise today, may God's strength lead me, may God's might uphold me, and God's wisdom guide me.
Light the flame in my heart once again. Light the flame in my heart once again. And the fire will burn in the darkness. Yes, the fire will burn in the darkness, as on that ancient hill, the embers burning still. Light the flame in my heart once again. Light the flame in my heart once again. And the fire will burn in the darkness. Yes, the fire will burn in the darkness, as on that ancient hill, the darkness will be filled with light, with light. Once again, and the fire, yes, the fire will burn in the darkness, as on that ancient hill, the embers burning still. Light the flame in my heart once again. Light the flame in my heart once again. And the fire will burn in the darkness. Yes, the fire will burn in the darkness. As on that ancient hill, the darkness will be filled with light. So light the fire and let it burn, and in the darkness see the light return. Faith, hope, and love forever will remain. So light the flame in our hearts once again.
Now we'll fade it out there. If you'd like to hear Dana singing that live tomorrow, there's 3 o'clock Mass in St. Eugene's Cathedral in Derry, and they're celebrating their 150th anniversary there. And it's a beautiful hymn, of course, composed for St. Patrick's Day. There early we featured it, and it was launched there at the St. Patrick's Centre in Downpatrick, where it was first played. And we had Dana on with us, and a lovely interview with her. Cian was here that Saturday morning, and we have that in our archive. We must play that back again for you. It was a lovely chat with her about that particular piece of music and the inspiration behind it. So she'll be making an emotional return to Derry tomorrow, May the 4th, to sing her new song at St. Eugene's Cathedral, marking the 150th anniversary of the cathedral. And it will not only mark the cathedral, but how much for her personally the cathedral has played a part in her life, but in the life of the city and all that has happened these past years for generations of parishioners, and particularly the factory workers who supported the building of the cathedral at the time. So Dana, she's a daughter and granddaughter of Derry's shirt factory workers, and Dana said it was a particular honour to be asked to sing at St. Eugene's, which has been so vital to her on her own spiritual journey. She says, "My Catholic faith has sustained me through many challenges in my own life, and I'm so grateful that those generations in my own family who passed on the flame of faith did so." And that's what my new song is about, the flame of faith, how Patrick lit that flame of faith, hope and love at Slane in the year 433 AD, and how much we still need that flame of faith. St. Eugene's was the parish church, Dana said, of my mother, Sheila, and her family, and she says her great-grandmother lived just across the street from the cathedral. My mother and father, Robert, were married there, and Damien and I, as her husband, followed in their footsteps in 1978. Dana added, "It was such a beautiful, memorable start to our life together, and we look forward to celebrating our 45th wedding anniversary this year." Lovely, a lot of things coinciding there. So the Mass tomorrow in St. Eugene's, it's the exact date tomorrow, the 4th of May, that the first Mass was celebrated there in 1873. And I'm certain that my own relations, my own family members must have been there. I'm sure so many people in Derry will also have known the beauty and comfort of St. Eugene's in their own family history. I feel I'm representing generations of my family, and so glad to go and say thank you to God for the gift of my family and of my faith. It's great, Dana's a lovely woman of faith now indeed, just very encouraging for us. So she will not only sing Light the Fire, which was launched, as I mentioned, in St. Patrick's Centre in Downpatrick there, during Holy Communion, but also the much-loved hymn written by Dana and her husband Damien, Our Lady of Knock, two beautiful hymns that are, please God, will, just as Our Lady of Knock, become part of our, again, established and sung and settled hymnody here in Ireland as part of our tradition. So although born in London to Sheila and Robert Brown, she returned to Derry at the age of 5, and the family settled first in Cregan and then the Bogside. We were promoting the Cregan there. Was it again recently, I think? And sometime last year was Father Andrew was there. Met Father Andrew. Where did I meet him? He came up to say hello to me. Took me a while to make the connection again in my head, meet so many people. Where did I meet Father Andrew? Oh gosh, isn't this desperate? I can't remember how. You just go to so many places. Sorry, Father Andrew, if you're listening. But he was very good to us now in the Cregan. I must say, enjoy that visit there. And John Martin O'Kane as well is just sowing some seed for us in and around Derry at the moment by way of promotion too. Very grateful to John. We met him that time. We went to visit Bishop McCone in Derry there not that long ago, a few months ago, just before Christmas I think. So a Derry Diocese spokesperson said that over the past 150 years, many generations of people have celebrated their faith in the cathedral. It has been both the parish church and the mother church of the Diocese of Derry. It has been where so many significant moments in people's lives have been celebrated. It is also where many people come every day to pray. Indeed, if you're ever visiting Derry, strongly recommend a visit to the cathedral there. We had a lovely visit there that time we were visiting. We were promoting that time and meeting the bishop as well, who gave us a very kindly welcome, I must say, Bishop Donal. Fine bishop. He spoke so well actually as well. He was at the vocations, the launch of the year prayer for vocations in Maynooth there, and was speaking in the context of the Northern Ireland experience in the church and vocations. Very good, really, just always so edified. So he wore a new vestment, the bishop, on Sunday at the 3 o'clock Mass there. The vestment was made by Marie Horton, a former shirt factory worker. It's a nice little connection there as well. So that's 3 o'clock tomorrow. It says on the website there for that Mass in St. Eugene's Cathedral. Dana will be there singing that beautiful hymn, Light the Fire, as well, celebrating 150 years in Derry Cathedral. Met Father Matthews as well at the Vocations Conference. He was saying about the visits of the statue and the relics of Blessed Carlo Acutis. I'll put that information together and share it with you on another Chatechesis, but I think that's already happening in Armagh. But I'll come back to you on that because I just don't have the information directly to hand here. And there's also to meet Father Barry there again, who's again kindly welcomed us to Armagh Cathedral on our visit there before Christmas too in December. So it's great to have these lovely ties and connections with the North, and indeed hoping we can strengthen them and build on them for Radio Maria, indeed for the faith as well. Wonderful, wonderful work and faith going on in the North of Ireland all the time. So lots more to be done, lots done and lots more to do. St. James the Less today, apostle, son of Alphaeus, is often but not certainly identified with the James whose mother stood by the cross of Christ, whether he's the brother of John, because there's St. James the Great too. He's said to be the one who's the brother of John. And is it St. James the Great is the one who's associated with Compostela and the scallop shell there. Roshi was showing me a lovely rosary she got from her grandson, who did a little bit of the Camino, and a rosary, a metal one, a nice sort of silvery metal, with each of the rosary beads is the scallop shell for St. James the Great. This is so today is St. James the Less. He's sometimes identified with the author of the Epistle of St. James, though again it's too far back in time because we know so little is the trouble. The poor man, he said, been stoned and clubbed to death in his time. That's one of the few details of information that we know about him. But he's united with St. James, and as in James, who was the first bishop of Jerusalem, he's the James who is the first bishop of Jerusalem. Let's see now. Let me just read this instead of getting it wrong. Yes, he's identified with the James, the brother of the Lord, who saw the risen Christ, and is often called the first bishop of Jerusalem. Okay, so it seems to be a little bit altogether unclear, but James the Less, at any rate, is known. But St. Philip, apostle, all we know about him is in the New Testament, came from Bethsaida in Galilee, a disciple of Jesus early on, probably after following John the Baptist, and then persuaded Nathanael, who's again Bartholomew, to follow Jesus. And at the feeding of the 5,000, he remarked that 200 denarii of bread would not be sufficient for each person to have even a little. So maybe he was involved in the financial end of things. But then to have seen me is to have seen the Father, is his intervention there at the Last Supper too. And again, martyred for the faith, St. Philip. So 2 great apostles and early great saints of the Church. My time has gone from me, as it always seems to do, too quickly. Thank you for listening in. Thank you for watching in. Please do like, share, follow, subscribe. Do please tell others. And may God bless you today. We will continue. Don't go away. We'll just switch off the camera now, but we'll pause for our bells, which will allow us to pray together our Regina Coeli and midday prayer.